गैर का क्या जिक्र राही गैर तो फिर गैर हैं, इस ज़माने में कोई अपना भी कब अपना हुआ। रेडियो आवाज़ पे मैं हूँ आपका होस्ट योगराही गुप्ता। प्रोग्राम ज़िंदगी के सफ़र में आप सबका स्वागत है। प्रोग्राम में मेरे साथ तशरीफ़ फरमा है जनाब परमिंदर सोहल, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मैनटोबा के प्रोफेसर। सोहल साहब, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपका खैर मकदम करता हूँ रेडियो आवाज़ के स्टूडियो में। आप अपना इतना कीमती वक्त निकाल के आए और हमारे सामीन से बात के लिए राजी हुए।
Thanks a lot for inviting me here. Thank you.
परमिंदर जी एक बड़ी गहरी सोच के मालिक हैं। परमिंदर जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपसे एक क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ, रिलीजन के बारे में आपकी क्या राय है?
First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me here. But let's discuss what religion is. If you look at the core of what religion is from all the religious beliefs, is that you have love and compassion in your heart. So before we go into love and compassion, we need to really understand how religion forms. If you look at all the civilizations around the world, they form on the banks of the river. So this river attracts people to come together, and people start settling on an east coast or the west coast. And slowly, once it was being an attraction point, it also becomes a division going forward, which start dividing people from each other. So that's what we have seen. The problem in the religion is that it brings together things, but it takes away the religiousness. If you also look from a different word, people use the word with the God very, very concisely, is that God becomes a problem, but what is more important is a godliness.
Very true.
So if you look at the word God and the religion, if they are just noun, we just kill them. We just make them a ritual going forward. So we have to take the word God and religion as a verb, which is constantly growing, constantly evolving. And who is actually evolving? That's what we need to think through. It is us who has to evolve. And that's what Buddhism calls is bodhisattva. In Sikhism, we call seekers the sing, right? That's what drives is who I am, where I came from, what is my purpose of life is the real core of the religion is. And if you are not getting those answers, and if it's not making you happy inside to answer those questions, then you have a status quo. You're just doing the rituals, which becomes a meaningless. And you have to start asking that question, can I get you there? And if you look at Guru Granth Sahib, the Bhagavad Gita, the answers are there. But we don't know how to read it. Sure. We don't know how to understand it. And to do that, we need a guru. Guru, I don't mean that, the way we think about guru, a person who can take you from the darkness to the light and enlighten you and actually make you understand that concept.
That's the meaning of guru. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
So that what happened with me. I was born in a Sikh religion. My dad was very religious. My mother's very religious. At age of 13, I got my Amrit. I was doing these rituals. I was doing the part. I was doing everything. But I was not understanding what it means, how I connect to with that. I started asking that question to my father, and he would get annoyed. I go to Gurdwaras. I try to ask people. I try to have a dialogue. And I was being shut down. So this quest keep going. And one day, suddenly, I got a glimpse of Swami Rajneesh. I listened to Japji Sahib from him. And when I listened to him, I said, this person knows something. He can answer my question. So my journey toward Rajneesh started when I was only 14 or 15 years old. And there was a lot of backlash and all those things at that time. But I kept saying, I had nothing to do with that. I have to inquire who I am. I need to go on that journey and try to understand it. And then I took that concept back to them and said, that's what it means. And the other people start following that whole concept. So that was a wow moment for me. Like I found somebody whom I can connect, I can understand, and I can fall in love with my gurus. I can speak, I can understand what they were. Because Gurumukhi is very pure, but I never understood it. I didn't had my education in Gurumukhi. I was brought up in English and Hindi. For me, I was not able to connect it. I needed somebody who can connect me to my faith, to my love, to my compassion, and that's what Bhagwan did it for me. So I think it is very important that whatever we do, we are born with a faith. Let's be honest with that. It's very hard to change that, right? But just faith by itself is very blind. We have to know it, and we need to find people who can help us, to guide us to go there
and to achieve the goal.
To achieve the goal. That's very important, sir. So the nature of a human being is to be happy. And religion is a way to take you towards that. We actually disconnect it, right? We go to religion as a way to ask something, to get something, like a beggar.
Is that religion is not a way of life?
Religion should be a way of life, but is it? That's the question to be asked, right? So religion has become a ritual, a mechanism of doing things, doing without knowing.
So, yeah.
Right? So let's talk from this concept. A person is sitting beside a bank and he wants to cross the river. The river is flooded. He doesn't know how to swim. Even if he knows swim, he's scared to cross that river. So for him, the boat is the means to take him to the other side of the bank. So he takes the boat and crosses the river. When he goes to the other side river, the reasoning and the religion is okay because this boat crossed him. But what he does is carries the boat on his head and start going into the market and roaming around. So we need to know when to carry it and when to leave it. That's what if you go ancient time, there was, certain age you do certain things you go, and then you take a sannyas, you leave everything. Sannyas was not meaning to go to the jungle. Sannyas was when you actually drop, when you learned everything and you start applying to yourself. So if you carry that boat on your head and walk inside the market, people will call you fools, right? But we don't apply that to ourselves. We are carrying that boat all the time. We are either Sikhs or we are Hindus or Muslims. But where is that brotherhood? Where is that understanding? Where is that concept of that I don't want to do anything to you, but you don't want to do it to me? So we are losing the innocence while going on the religion. That's very a delicate balance. We have to be very careful, because the moment you leave your innocence, you leave your human values, you get into a fundamentalism, and that's the cause of the problem of today, what we are seeing across the globe.
Tell me something about desire, human desire. How to put a ceiling on the desire?
See, if you look at a desire,
we are a human being.
We are human being. Where this desire is coming from, that has to be looked at. So there are two things. There's a fear too, right? We are fearful and we desire something. These are the two instances where we are going away from who we are. So what desire is for? Is it that desire is of a failure, of an ambition, of doing something which, even if you get that desire, a new desire will come up?
It's true, yeah.
So desire doesn't end. It's like a mirage. The moment you achieve your desire, a new desire comes. So there's a saying that, the elephant is inside and you're looking for its footsteps outside. Those footsteps are basically desire, which is detaching you from who you are. In Guru Granth Sahib, in page 155, there is a concept of santosh, contentment. So there are two types of happiness. One of the happiness is of luxury or sensory pleasure, which is materialistic, which is very hard to achieve because you put a lot of effort into it, but there's no satisfaction to it.
So
there's another type of happiness, which is contentment of the mind, we call it in Buddhism. What that means is that I'm satisfied by myself. There's a word called santosh in Sanskrit, which means contentment, right? Contentment cannot come unless you have karuna, which is compassion. And you cannot have a compassion until you have a maitri, which is love in the heart. So, if you look at a child today, or I'm a professor, so I see this thing happening in the world. Students come to in my class, they say, mostly in the business management side, that we want to be successful in business. That's a desire too, right? So I say, why you want to be successful in business? I think you are already successful. No, I want to be successful in this thing. And what we fail, as a professor, I'm saying that, what we fail in the market is that we teach them the knowledge, we don't give them the experience. We teach them how to be successful by books. What is the strategy should be, how you execute the strategy, how you should do the marketing, how you do the customer loyalty and all those things. But is that what the life is?
No, in that case, their object is a material thing.
Yes.
Right.
So material thing is, if you look at desire is all materialistic. There's no subjectivity into it. So if you look at science today, you talk about objectivity. If you talk about science today, science is all objective. Religion is also a science, but it's not objective, it's subjective. Subject is you. So anything which is objective, I'm not against to be successful in life. I'm saying you should be very successful. But I'm telling you is, if you just study, or if you still have the desires, then it is not going to bring you the success. Forget about happiness. You won't be successful. Tomorrow your wife cheats on you. Tomorrow your kids doesn't listen to you. Tomorrow you have economic downturn. How this education which we are giving you is going to be successful to you? So if you look back into our Vedic studies, a student goes to a guru as a disciple. The teacher never starts teaching you. He prepares you before he teaches you. And that's what we call is dhyan, the meditation. You have to become self-aware of what this education is going to. Then you learn how to shoot an arrow, or listen to the become a doctor, or anything you want to do from a Vedic study perspective. But the teacher doesn't start teaching until you are prepared. The problem is here, we are 2 years old, is start counting 2 plus 2 is 4. And we forget to teach him a compassion and love from the heart, that 2 and 2 plus 2 is sometimes becomes 1 also, and you have to really understand that aspect. So I'm a professor, so I see all these young kids in the class, and some of the boys and girls and comes and tells me that they're falling in love. They feel so good about it, so I'm very open with them. They talk to me. I ask them this question, where you're falling from? You said this word, I'm falling in love. But what does that really mean? Do you know what love is? Have you ever loved yourself? And why you're falling? Why not you raising? And where you're falling from? The problem is these kids don't know. This love is still a mental love, which will fail. It's still a desirable love. Coming back to your question, sir. It's a desire without a compassion and without understanding. Understanding of yourself to the other. And that's why we see a lot of divorces, a lot of breakups, because things are happening the way it should not happen. I need to know myself first, who I am. I need to know inside me who my partner should be. That desire should come from my understanding and within me. And then I'm looking for that image somewhere which matches to me. Once it matches to me, that relationship is going to last, because that what was my need, not my desire. So it becomes very important to become aware of your desires. You should be able to look at your desires and say, does that desire is an illusion? Is that desire is a reality, what it is? And you cannot know what it is until you know who you are. And who you are is a way of sadhana, of meditation, and which we ignore totally. So coming back to your question, sir, desire is also a mirage. You chase it, you will never get it.
Now, I like to share here. I went one time in southern part of India. Outside one ashram, I saw a slogan. It says, "Hands that serve are holier than lips that pray." It touched me so much. How true it is. You spend so much time in worshipping and reading the religious books and all that too. But when you do some service for the humanity,
Yes.
It gives you different satisfaction.
Very good. Let's watch it. You are serving whom? Who is serving whom?
Yeah.
I'm serving somebody. Why we are serving? What is the reason for that serving? I think the system failed. It's not the democracy is by the people, of the people, and for the people. That means that democratic society has failed big time because it cannot take care of its own people. Right? As you said, I also I'm not saying we should not help others. We should. But helping is also becoming a marketing trend. If you look out there, help should be seamless, help should be hidden, help should be a way to lift somebody up. And I'm not seeing that happening. I'm seeing it's a marketing campaign. It is a way to collect the money as an NGOs. I'm not seeing the help really reaching them. That doesn't mean that everybody's wrong. I'm not saying that. There are a lot of good actions happening. There's a lot of things are happening. But are we really poor? That's another question I want to ask you. I think we all are born very rich, but we paint this poverty on it. Why we are poor? That's the question I want to ask. Why somebody is poor? We become poor because we give up. I will give you an example. I go to Delhi, right? After 7-8 years. I see a lot of kids come to me for asking food. Going from here, brought up here, you have a compassion to give money because you feel so much, because you cannot see a kid starving. I cannot imagine even that thing. And there I go and I see all this thing. It's so sad. I give money and my relatives over there say, don't do that. It was very hard for me to understand. Why? And then I asked them, I meet some people who came as a poor people, especially after the partition from Pakistan. They came to New Delhi, near the Red Fort area and all this thing, right? And now they have 5-star hotels.
So they struggle so much.
Yeah. I asked them, you came with nothing and you were able to own 5-star hotels, while these kids here, these families are still, they were beggars. Their forefathers were beggars, their fathers, and their kids will be beggars too. I can project that. Why? Because they lost the self-pride in that one. They lost the ability. So don't give them food. Give them hope. Don't help them. Give them education. Let them stand up. And this is where I totally disagree. Because what is happening is you're just giving them the opium of the dream, opium of the food, opium of the residence. If you don't do that, if you keep doing that, those people will always be poor. So what I'm saying is help, but help by inspiring them. Help by awakening the leader in them, uplifting them. That's good for the country, that's good for the globe. So just going and converting and giving food is not a good way to lift our society. So I may disagree here, but that's what I feel. That sort of.
What do you think about the homeless people, shelter? We see in North America too.
Yes. Before I go there,
we see in our city, Winnipeg too.
That's what I'm saying. It's not New Delhi. It is in San Francisco. It is in the New York.
Yeah,
it is everywhere. So disease is the same. Cure has to be there, and there's no cure for them. So I will give you an example. I have friends in First Nations group, right? I'm very much attached to them because I feel they have this ancient knowledge which is getting lost in today's world. And one of the deputation actually went to India, in Gujarat, to meet the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, to talk to them about, we also need independence. We are been struggling. We are doing all those things. So what is the way to get out of this whole thing? So our people can also be free. They can do things and all those things. And he said, you know what? It's not going to happen to you because you don't have that burning desire to lose everything for one cause. That cause doesn't exist. So it comes back to the question, right? And I'm seeing, actually, I met a couple of really good business owners in British Columbia. I was amazed by the work they're doing. So they're turning, these people were normal people, now they have started a business on the artworks in the carpentry and stuff like that, which is actually making them good leaders. And what they're doing is they're creating a sustainable business because those values are there. Mm-hmm. I think they will actually succeed in the market going forward. They're the same people. So here also, it is our responsibility, first of all, to decouple them from any intoxications. That's the first thing. Because if you're intoxicated, your brain doesn't work, your mind doesn't work, you don't know where you want to go. Second thing, we have to put pride in them. Think about Guru Gobind Singh. I will call him the best branding and marketing person in the history of humanity. When Mughals attacked India and converted all the people locally there, he stood up, he took some of them and branded them. And that brand really defeated the biggest empire at the time. So we need good leaders who can awake people rather than just giving free food to people. So we need those leaders. We need those Buddhas. We need those revolutionary people who can awaken the sleeping leader in you. I think that's the biggest donation we can do when we meet people and help others. That's what I believe.
Okay. In our generation, what do you see, what is the lacking? Why our young generations are not following our footsteps? Why they are different? What different we are doing?
Okay. May I speak in Hindi on this one? So at least we can address other people too, right? So I would like to start from a little bit Shirashai, the way you, uncle, now you have a heart which is beating, but there's no feelings in that one. Once you come from a mind, you drop to the heart. We also say that we have a gut feeling. Have you heard about that one? Yeah. So where this feeling comes from? That's a question to be asked. If your brain thinks, that means your gut doesn't think. Your gut also thinks. And actually, this is the most important aspect to be on the navel point, which we call hara. This is where the death comes out from the body. If you do a little bit meditation, you will know that about 7 chakras, the concept of 7 chakras. Actually, there are not only 7 chakras. There are 108 chakras. If you pick up any rosary or any mala today from India, it's 108 meanings, right? So what is this 108 consist of? These are the energy points. This is where acupuncture actually started. So acupuncture is nothing but knowing those 108 points and creating that energy can flow, and you can work from that perspective. But coming back to this concept of the navel point. So now your navel point has been disconnected and you are connected with the super consciousness, and super consciousness is working. That's what Guru Granth Sahib talks about, that's what Bhagavad Gita talks about, that's what Quran talks about, that's what every religious book talks about. But it was written in a poetry. So we start taking literally meaning of it. We don't really go into depth of trying to understand it. And then the only difference is now your heart is beating, your mind is beating, and बच्चा कह रहा है कि ये मेरा खिलौना है, ये मेरा घर है, ये मेरे माँ बाप है, मेरा 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 इतना बड़ा हो जा रहा है. That is building the ego, right? So other thing is, when I was growing up, or when I saw my parents actually growing up, they were growing up with their grandparents. They were with them for 7 or 8 years. They didn't go to school. They will be taken care by the family or the community or the local neighborhood. So he built that bond with each other. Here, the kid is only a year old or 6 months old. He's going into a babysitter or some other program. It's not attached with the parents. And what they're learning there, 2 + 2 is 4. This is this, this is this. The learning starts very early in the life without building that awareness and connectedness. And what happens, this time goes really fast, because what I've seen in North America, immigrants comes, they're struggling. For first 5-10 years, they don't focus on their kids. They're not prepared because they're preparing themselves to be successful in this new world. No matter if you're a doctor or engineer or professor, doesn't matter. Whichever way
Everybody
you go,
go through with that struggle.
will go through the struggle. Now you neglected a 10 years period where you want to connect. Now that kid has been connected to somebody else, something else, some other language, some other form of shape. And the time is gone. So you cannot really correct them. And I'm not saying everybody does it. I was very much connected with my father. I'm still connected with my mother. And you look at recently Donald Trump. His kids are totally connected to him. So saying that in North America kid doesn't get connected is not a root treatment. The cause of the problem is that we fail to take care of our children. We fail to make them understand how we are struggling for them. The sense of belonging is not there. And then there's a culture difference, there's a attitude difference,
pressure too.
peer pressures and all those things. So we need to, as a society, help them understand they need not only take care of their parents, they need to take care of every elder. They have to build this compassion, they have to build this love everywhere. So if you go to temple today, or you go there today, what you see? You see segregation of kids, segregation of the female,
people,
as elder people. So they are struggling with themselves. The struggle should be union of everybody. So they should be together. And this is a behavioral problem. This has to be changed. And we teach actually at the universities also, we are seeing our business schools are failing big time. And we are teaching them a spiritual leadership, which comes back to the concept of don't do others what you don't want to do to yourself. Take care of others. Be compassionate. Don't get angry. If you get angry, that's a negative energy. It's taking energy away from your positive energy. So I think fault is not of kids. Fault is our situation. Not even, I will say, parents. Because they are going through their own struggle. We are changing. This is a flux happening. This is a change happening. But I think once the second generation and third generation comes, if we keep the values and compassion and love alive, we can get back to that one.
Professor Sohal, let's take one commercial break here.
Thank you.
प्रोफेसर सोहल, हम इस बारे में बात कर रहे थे पेरेंट्स की. पेरेंटिंग इज़ वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट इन दिस कंट्री, राइट?
हाँ जी.
हम जिस वातावरण में हम पैदा हुए हैं, यहाँ पेरेंटिंग बहुत डिफरेंट है. इस बारे में थोड़ा हाईलाइट करें.
So when I've seen जब बच्चे को आप कुछ कहते हो, he asks why I should do it.
Yeah, reasoning.
What are the reasons behind it? And then it hurts you. Now we need to really understand who is getting hurt and why it's getting hurt and how can we transform this behavior going forward. We are getting hurt because our ego is getting hurt, because we never questioned our father in our culture where we've grown up.
Out of respect, out
of love, out of compassion. Because our father is everything to us, and he does everything for me. I know that. He will cut his pocket,
of course,
for my toys. There's so much sacrifice by my father.
You can't repay.
You cannot repay that whole thing. But the kids who are growing up here, they have a different way of looking things, because they're growing up in a different totally environment. So when they ask you a question why, first of all, be very open and happy to answer that why question. But bring the value and the culture and the compassion and love, what we learn from our parents, stitch into the answer of that why. So you're not just giving the why answer, you're transforming the thought process of a child and bringing and aligning to what you have learned from your father. And believe me, that is more compassionate and lovable relationship than just a plain yes and no relationship.
True. So any message you want to give to the new generation?
I think the message I want to give to the new generation is that you're born in a very good time. There's not much violence now. There's not much struggle now.
And this is a land of opportunity.
It's a land of an opportunities, and it is important to be successful. And I totally endorse that, and that's the profession I am in, teaching, to make you every successful. But this success should be compassionate. This success should be shareable. This success should bring the society up. So don't do this business for yourself. If you try to do business for yourself, you are ought to fail. There should be a cause to lift up the society. I will tell you, I'm in IT industry. When I went to Chennai once, and I was talking to one company, and I asked this person, what are you doing? Some of them gave an answer, I'm building software, I'm doing this, I'm building databases. But I went to this very calm person, and asked him, what are you doing, my brother? He says, I'm building India. I'm creating opportunity for people, my fellow peoples, who can find work. So I cannot compromise on my ethics. I cannot compromise on my hard work. I need to do the best, not for this company, for my country. So for this new generation, I want to ask you what you are working for, what you're successful for. Please think from that perspective. And that thought process will take you miles far than what you think your potential is.
Thank you, Professor Sohal, for a wonderful talk we had. And I would like you to please frequently come in our studio and share these kinds of ideas with our listeners.
Sure, it will be my pleasure.